So here's what I mean. You coach a team, right? And what might be a value that you have on your team? What is a core value for a team? No, sorry. I could have pointed at anyone at this table. This side, okay. Coach a team. What's a core value? What's something that you value?
Adaptability.
Adaptability, great. What else?
Personal commitment.
Commitment, excellent. What else?
I was going to say time that you put into it.
So commitment, right? I mean, we could throw out a lot of words. Effort, right? Passion, whatever we want to call these things. All right. So this is what so many teams do, right? They said, yeah, these are our values. We stand for, being great teammates. We stand for sportsmanship. We stand for, integrity. We stand for effort. And then what award did they give out at the end of the season? The MVP. Right? So what does that have to do with what your values are? See, great teams recognize their values. They give out an award not for the best player, but for the people who exemplify their values the most. And so you guys have five great values of an organization. And I think getting better, if you think about a way to reward those values, to identify the volunteer, to identify the coach, to identify the player, to identify the parent, to identify the referee. I don't know if the referees work for you or for a different organization, but what if you started recognizing them for exemplifying the values of Baton Rouge Soccer Club? These are awards that anyone can win, right? They're an award that's available to anyone on the team seeking excellence, being innovative. And yet, when you reward them, you make them real, then all of a sudden people say, yeah, I know what that value is. Yeah, I know what that is. And now your core values become something that you do every day. So I think this is a really, really important thing that can help take you one step further. Good on that one? Number two is a different kind of coaching education. And so instead of telling you this, I want to show you why I think this is important. So I gave you all 5 pieces of paper. Did everyone get some? I know someone got here late. You got some? You need some? Here you go. So on those pieces of paper, what I'd love for you to do is write down one per piece, the 5 qualities of the best coach or teacher you ever had. So the qualities of the best coach and the world teachers when we're coaching that you ever had. It's not really a wrong answer. Prefer if you don't put bony beer or something like that. But right, so this could be their passion. This could be their their how hard they work. This could be their knowledge of the game. Whatever it is, the qualities of the best coach you ever had. And if you've never had a coach or you've never had a good coach, think about an inspiring teacher you had in school or something like that. Okay.
So one per post-it note?
One per sticky note there.
Okay.
Is that an extra pen right there? Yeah, throw it.
Oh gosh. Doug Marvin.
Yes.
You're gonna hit something and turn my screen blue again. Needs- All right. Are those yours? All right. As you're getting done, I see a few heads coming up here. Here's what I would love for you to do. You're gonna come on up and let's just say on this wall here, stick any of those sticky notes that have to do with your coach's knowledge of X's and O's. So their knowledge of the game, technique, tactics, whatever. So knowledge of the game goes over here. And then over on this side, stick any sticky note that has to do with connection. So emotional intelligence. So these are things like passion and caring and effort and integrity. So everything that has to do with the ability of that coach to connect to you as a player on this wall, and their knowledge of X's and O's on this wall. So go ahead, come on up and stick those up. This part you can't get wrong. I hope they stick. We'll see. Every wall is different. Good. Sorry, it's slipped.
That's what I said. No.
Good, man. I could have predicted that.
The worst part about that is like now you're gonna have like an itch like all day. You're like, what's something like that? What's something like that?
Let's see what I can do. Togetherness, Josh.
Good thing you players didn't say that, Will. Line you up.
All right, as we're finishing up, is anyone noticing a pattern emerging up here?
I think that's spelling out a word.
Here.
And some cookies.
So when we look at these walls and we say knowledge of the game, ability to connect, all these smart people in this room, all these coaches who have hopefully had a great teacher, a great coach in your life, when you say what are the qualities of that person?
Most days, everything goes according to
Sorry.
I sounded more intelligent than what I was.
I get accidentally clicked.
Right? So, look at this. Right? So we all agree in this room. Did anyone not put any on this wall? Look at a couple. It's usually about a third of the room. And I've done this exercise in Europe. I've done this exercise in Asia. I've done this in the US and Canada, all over, and the wall's always the same. About 80 to 90% of the qualities that make for a great coach have to do with their ability to connect to you as a person. And so why I say we need a different kind of coaching education is this. When you do coaching education, when you do clinics for your rec coaches, when you go and do your coaching licenses and all that, where do you spend 90% of your time working on that wall? And it's not to say that this wall is not important. Of course it's important. It's critical. But it's not the be-all and end-all of coaching. And it's really it's sort of the basis, the required knowledge. Yes, you have to know something about the game. I think one of the biggest problems in soccer in the US is we have lots of people who play the game. I played in college, so I like to coach. And they really have nothing to do with each other. Being able to play something, to be able to teach it, is a whole different skill set. And we don't value, I don't think in this country, education enough. We don't value coaching education because people say, well, I played, so I already know enough. But this stuff over here is a huge, huge part about being a coach. So we look at the words, accountability, firm but fair, commitment, passion, leadership, encouraging, motivating, patience, caring, right? All these different characteristics that we say matter. When we're trying to become a better coach, we have to study this, but we also have to study this piece of it. And if we don't, if we ignore that, some people kind of have that, right? That comes naturally to some people, that ability to connect. But it's also something that can be learned. When I meet coaches say, well, that's just not me. Well, that's not someone I want coaching my kids. Right? I'm a dad first and foremost. I want someone who's a lifelong learner, who never stops improving their craft, but who's not afraid to learn those things. Anyone wanna guess the number one sticky note? I've got like thousands of these sticky notes in my living room that I tallied them up for a while, I don't anymore. But, the number one quality, double any other quality of the best coach people ever had, anyone know what this?
Guess what it
Caring.
Caring and empathy. That quality right there sets coaches apart, sets teachers apart, sets leaders apart. And so when we talk about different type of coaching education, here are some of these qualities. And caring's the first one. And the best way to show that you care is you coach a person, not a sport. You don't coach soccer, you coach Bill, and you coach Kay, and you coach John, and you coach Jen, and whatever. You coach a human being. And every one of those kids needs something different from you. And so if it's one size fits all, this is what I do, you will never reach enough players. People ask me, what's the best way to get parents off my back? Let them know that you care about their son or daughter as a person, not a left winger or a goalkeeper or something like that. So you have to coach the person and not the sport. And you have to show those kids authentically that you care. And when you do that, how many of you are parents in here? Okay, so about half the room. So this was definitely something as a coach I didn't get until I had my own kids and realized, like, you know, how important and how much you could love something until you have your own kid. And I think it changes you as a coach for sure when you have your own kids. But for those who don't have kids, that's okay. What I'm saying is just know this, that if you care about that child, the parent's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But if they think that you only value their son or daughter for how many goals they score, how many goals they keep out, that day that you're tough, that day the kid comes home crying because you've been hard on them in practice, their first thing that they're going to do is go, what's wrong with your coach? Right? I'm calling Bo, I'm calling the academy director, I'm calling whoever, because, you know, there's obviously something wrong with my coach, instead of saying, well, wait, I know that coach loves you, I know that coach cares about you, so let me try to figure out what's going on here. That's number one. And do that by being a good communicator. Do you guys do preseason meetings, expectations, philosophy with your teams? Right? Hugely important. What about ongoing communication throughout the season? You let people know where they stand. Right? And I know we have people coaching all different levels. I'm not saying you need to let the 5-year-olds know that with weekly progress reports. Right? But certainly, you know, players who are travel players, players who are you know, parents who are making a substantial financial investment. Just like in school, you get progress reports. Well, you gotta let people know where they stand. And it can be as simple as a paragraph to a kid every couple of weeks. Here's what's going well, here's what you need to work on, here's the plan moving forward. Let the parents know what's going on, and it's really important to keep the parents in the loop too, right? Because if there's one thing that I'm certain of is that what you communicate to kids, 90% of it never makes it back to mom or dad. I remember one time I was doing a post-game talk with this girl who had a poor game, worked so hard, and just gave away every pass she touched. And I said, man, Lauren, you know what, I have never seen you work harder, you won every tackle, you did everything you could, your passing just wasn't on today. That's okay, we'll move on from that, because everything else about the game was right. Get a call 3 hours later from her dad, Lauren says that you told her she sucked. And that's not what I said, my mistake, right, for not putting that on mom then. So be that communicator. What about written evaluations? What do you do for players on that?
Yeah, we do Zoom reports.
Zoom reports,
Yeah.
perfect. I love Zoom reports. They do a phenomenal job. It's easy. You can track it as a director. You can make sure your coaches are actually giving the reports instead of just telling you that they're sending out reports. And the other good thing about Zoom reports that I love is when people come at tryouts and say, well, we never knew that Johnny was in danger of getting cut. And I could go into Zoom reports and be like, well, you got 3 progress reports from your coach that you didn't bother to open any of them. So what else do you want from us? Right? And then what about in-person meetings? You do that on a seasonal, give a parent an opportunity to have a meeting with you if they want to talk about how their son or daughter is.
Some coaches do, some don't. Kind of depends on the comfort level of the coach.
Yeah,
We encourage it.
yeah.
I know I used to do it all the time, but
Yeah.
some just, young coaches don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, and